Welcome to Disruptive Capitalists, the show where purpose-driven entrepreneurs and bold investors share how they're reshaping the world by investing time and money in a way that improves lives and creates wealth. So let's get to it. Hello, everyone. Thank you again for joining us for another great episode of the Disruptive Capitalist podcast. My guest today is Tobey, who hails from Utah. Jay's mission is to broaden access to private investment opportunities by leveraging his extensive experience and network with a background in syndicating individual investments across various asset classes, including real estate, private equity, and private credit. Jay has spent years cultivating exclusive relationships with key players in the investment world. His deep understanding of financial structuring, coupled with a strategic vision, allows him to identify and capitalize on unique investment opportunities. Jay, thank you for joining the show.
Hey, thank you so much, Sam, for having me.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about yourself. How'd you get started in this, and what are you doing now?
Yeah, so I got started in about 2017, 2018. I was just making some private investments. One of those was into a private drug rehabilitation facility, and thought I'd do something philanthropic with some of the capital I had. Turned out that I really enjoyed that space. I liked seeing the transformation of the individuals, and I felt like there were some things that could be better in that space. And so over the next few years, I just watched as a member of the board, and then I really decided to dive deep about 2 years ago and move a lot of my financial background into that space and just really go and try to help that industry, the drug rehab and mental health space.
That's
some would call it
fantastic.
behavioral health.
Yeah, behavioral health. So what are you doing now?
Right now, what we're in the middle of doing is buying a lot of what we call the Continuum of care, which are 4 different pillars. You have Detox, residential, sober living, and outpatient. What we're trying to do is buy different facilities in different states and put them all under kind of one umbrella so that we can keep the consistency of care. Clients don't have to kind of bounce around between different companies with different vision statements and things. And so we're buying the real estate underneath it and also the buildings or the businesses.
That's great. And so what are you looking for when you go acquire a property or a project?
Yeah, we're looking for a few different things. We're looking that they are well established, that they have good processes and procedures. We don't want to go in and tell them what I can't take a client from beginning to end myself. But I just want to make sure that we can back those operators that have already found success, and we can just make sure that they have everything that they need to continue and grow. A lot of operators want to do more. They want to help more individuals, and we just want to be the catalyst for that.
That's great. And you guys provide the equity for them to do that?
Correct. We provide the equity. We can help with some of their back end billing, marketing, making them a market leader in their area.
That's great. Absolutely great.
And that's why I liked your show, is because it talked about how, the disruptive capitalist. In this space, there's been a lot of, call it, government facilities, nonprofit facilities. I think that's great. But if you look at it from a capitalist perspective, you can outcompete some of those facilities because they're going to get the same budgets every year, whether or not they do
good or bad.
A high treatment center or a better treatment or a lower treatment. Actually, what we've seen is that, especially in the government spaces, that they want to cut a lot of costs. So you're going to be meeting with, a nurse level instead of a full doctor / therapist. Well, which is not terrible, but in a capitalist society, if we provide a better treatment and individuals decide to choose us, then we can help provide just more, like a higher level of experience.
Yeah, I worked in the government sector for a long time, and I always found it interesting that people felt like, oh, if it's a for-profit facility, then it's they're greedy capitalists and they're just trying to take advantage of us. And what I have found is, I mean, there are times when that is true, but a lot of times it's like what you're doing. It's what I'm doing, disruptive capitalism. You have capitalists who really care about the human and they're trying to find how do we create as much value as possible for our clients and deliver the absolute best experience so that they keep coming back. Because I know if I lose them, I lose money. And so I want them to have a great experience. Whereas the government, we don't, government didn't care if they had a great experience or not. It was, you know, it's free, so people come. And you never have a problem getting more people to come into the system. So it just was a different viewpoint. And I have found that the for-profit facilities worked more efficient. A lot of times are less expensive for treatment and care than the government places.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So how this year's been really difficult for capital raising, and now you're adding on a layer for mental health facilities. Who are you raising capital from, and how is that going?
We are on two sides of the spectrum. We actually have a vehicle that we worked really hard with the SEC that can take unaccredited individuals in more of a bond structure. And so we can take everyone who's got $500, because what we looked at is mental health, substance abuse is such a problem for everyone that most everyone can say they know one person who has struggled with it. And so we said, we want to open up the availability to get returns and to help in that sector to everyone. And then on the other side of things, we have big, large institutions, family offices, those that, again, have seen this hurt their own family or people that they've loved, everyone should be, what our thesis was everyone's kind of tied to this in some way and have different reasons for investing and getting into it. And so we're working with definitely a broad spectrum of individuals.
So whoever's listening to this show could be like, I'll do $500, and they can reach out to you and invest $500 into supporting mental health facilities or behavioral health facilities or the continuum of care.
Correct. Yep. We made it as low as that.
That's fantastic. So what kind of returns are investors seeing on behavioral health facilities?
Yeah. What I realized is, we can't overpromise any returns, but we set it up somewhere between 7 and 12%, whether that be the equity side, which is, preferred return, or the bond side, which is monthly distributions. And so that's what an investor can expect, is we wanted to make it competitive with the market. But
That's great.
we wanted to make sure that they were getting cash back in their pocket, not just paper. Oftentimes in the stock market, you have paper gains and you don't realize them until you liquidate.
And pay
So
a
we
bunch of
wanted to
taxes.
make it available.
Yeah. So the bond, they don't get upside, but they get a flat fee every month, or a flat payment every month, right? Flat coupon.
Correct.
That's brilliant. And is it into one specific thing, or is it like a fund where that's spread across 15 facilities?
It's spread across the entire portfolio.
That's
And the
great.
portfolio is mainly in the Western United States.
Great. So you work a lot with Intermountain Health Care.
We do in Utah, a lot with Intermountain Health. Different states have their major health systems. Intermountain, obviously, being from Utah, is the largest player here. And so we really appreciate them.
Yeah, when I got my master's in health and hospital administration, we studied Intermountain Health as being really one of the premier organizations. They kept insurance costs really low for Utahns, and it was just remarkable compared to the vast majority of other systems that were really dysfunctional. Intermountain really seemed to have it together.
Yeah, as far as what I see on being a user of Intermountain, I've had a great experience.
That's great. So are you guys actively raising right now?
We are actively raising
How much are you guys looking to raise?
about 115 million. So we've
Okay.
got some large commitments from some big families, large funding, um, you know, closing on a bunch of facilities, but we have about 75 million that can go to unaccredited investors, just the everyday average individuals.
Wow. So what's next? What are you guys you're acquiring? What's the target for the end of this year?
Yeah, the target for the end of this year is deploying about 80 million into 3 or 4 different states here in the West. We're building what we call ecosystems,
Mm-hmm.
which is all 4 of those pillars of care. Again, you studied healthcare administration, so you understand it better than anyone, but we're creating basically a little mini healthcare system, but for behavioral health in the states that we're in. So our goal is about 500 beds. If we can acquire and add about 500 beds to the market, that is our goal.
Add to your portfolio or add to the market?
Add to the market.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, and that's one of the biggest things we've seen is just a lack of services. At this point, I tell a lot of people we might not be in the life-changing state. We're just in the life-saving, because so many people can't get access to care. They're on waiting lists. One of our partners in LA has a bunch of sober living homes. He's got about a 300-person waiting list in his facilities to just be able to get and receive care. So just trying to make it more available to people.
Do you guys develop it all or you just take it when it's done?
Right now, we haven't gotten into any ground up developments, if that's what you mean, Sam.
Mm-hmm.
We are open. We are like looking at some retrofit.
Yep.
Old churches, elementary schools actually are really good fits for these type of products, similar to what old assisted
Mm-hmm.
living care facilities. And so we want to, right now, we do want to just get a facility that is somewhat existing and then retrofit. I'm sure somewhere it would be great to ground up build something custom that's perfect for what we want, but it just takes so much time and there's just such a push to get help to individuals that we just said, hey, we'll work. Not every property is perfect for what we want.
Yeah.
We have to kind of give and take for the speed.
Yeah.
What do they say? There's 3 things you can do it.
Cheap, fast, or good. That one?
Yeah, that one. I can't think of all of them, but we're kind of going under that model.
You do it great, fast, or good, or cheap. Pick one. Sometimes pick 2.
Yeah,
So you can do it fast and great if you have a lot of money.
and that's mainly what we're pushing for.
Yeah. Interesting. We'll have to talk about that a little offline. How's the government been with, you're working across multiple states, you're doing, God's work, helping people in a remarkable way, something that not a lot of people are in that space, at least not a lot of PE shops or private equity shops are in that space. How has it been working with the government and
Yeah, the government is always working with the government. I personally like working with them, even though they're a little bureaucratic, as everyone could imagine.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, they see the need. They see that even their resources, as an example, a facility, the state hospital in Utah, they have a couple hundred beds. I've talked with them. They're a government run facility. Talked with the guys that run that facility, the director, and they have the highest level of care beds, which means like think of that for those that are listening as an emergency room or an ICU, the highest level of care but they're having a hard time placing once someone gets stabilized and help. Where's that long-term solution? That's really what North Star, that's what we're building here at North Star, is that long-term solution to move those people that have the highest level of care as they get stabilized, can move to lower level of care. That's one of their big issues. So that government and private partnership, I think, is so helpful because they see the need throughout all of the states that they're in. They're trying to address it, but they, like anyone, are limited to government cuts. In the last few years, they only, bureaucracy. So we can say, hey, if we had this sort of product next to your facility, can we offload some of the logjam that's happening? And they've loved that solution.
What about, and are they willing to fund that solution? Grants, bonds,
Yes,
tax credits?
exactly.
That's great. 20 years ago, nobody wanted to talk about behavioral health. And 30 years ago, 40 years ago, nobody
Oh,
did.
yeah.
And now we've recognized that it's a critical issue in the US, and we are talking about it. And I feel like the demand has got to be insatiable, and it's only going to get worse.
Yeah, and that's really what I saw from an outward perspective, is that exact thing, is that the demand is just through the roof. The supply is just, like you mentioned earlier, people have been doing God's work for 20 plus years in the dark. No one's wanted to talk about it. And we're just, probably COVID helped, just starting as a nation to address it. Now we're really early to address it in a large way. But over the next, call it 10, 20 years, I think these generations are more open to talk about it, more open to say, hey, I received treatment. And the stigma is just getting less and less each year.
I am grateful to see that change. I worked in healthcare for 13 years, and I saw the change a lot just inside the hospital. I spent most of my time, or a lot of my time, in global health, so working with different foreign militaries and governments around the world, I think 4 continents. Most other countries aren't there yet, but we certainly are, and Europe is slowly getting there, but behavioral health is, our country's leading the way on that treatment, and I think it's a very savvy move to be in this space and trying to create what I like to think of as like the good side of Blackstone. So Blackstone literally means, like, something cold, hard, and dark. And that's why we named our company Brightstead, which is like a steady light.
Yeah,
But
I like that.
North Star, or doing something that makes a difference. It's not just about money. It's about helping people, creating the world that we want to have, and doing it through capitalism. Capitalism enables it to be sustainable forever, right? As long as you can generate a profit, you can help people in this way forever. Now, government changes their minds. You get a new president who doesn't like people who have mental health issues, and they just cut it all because they see it as a waste, right? If you're
Yes,
doing it inside of a capitalistic paradigm, it never goes away. It never goes away.
that's 100% what I've seen.
So we've talked a little bit about this issue. We talked about what you guys are doing, and that you're raising money. So if somebody's listening to this and they're like, that's something that I care about, because we believe very strongly that the purpose of this podcast is to disrupt capitalism. We should invest in a way that matters to us, that aligns with our incentives, rather than just throwing money in the stock market, hoping it turns out well. actually investing in a way that makes a difference, where you generate a return and you can feel good because somebody got help, or somebody, we increase socioeconomic status, or we help people get out of poverty, or we help people get off the edge, or help them not commit suicide and come back home and be able to provide for their families. If somebody's feeling like that and they want to invest with you, how would they do that?
Yeah, go to northstarrecovery.care. And there you can find information on what we're doing, a little bit of information on, we get a lot of referrals from people that have just actually started looking into starting to invest. And they go, like one of our board members literally texted me and said, "Hey, my brother-in-law is having a struggle. My sister-in-law has no idea what to do," because most caregivers are the ones that are dealing with it. They're dealing with someone that they need to get care for. But if someone wants to invest, go to northstarrecovery.care. Go to my LinkedIn, Tobey, my Instagram handle, jtobey18, and all those links kind of can lead you to the place where you can hit the investment button, learn more about it.
That's great. We'll make sure those are in the show notes. And any last words for our listeners?
No, thanks so much for letting me come on today. I really look forward to chatting more, and hopefully we can do an update in maybe 6 months to a year, and we can just tell your listeners how it's been going.
Yeah, great. Thank you. We should get that on the calendar. And folks, if you've been listening and you've been moved, as I have, make sure you go to the website that Jay just mentioned. We'll put that in the show notes so you can get it right in there and click on it and check them out. And if it's $500, it's $500. This is 500 grand, it's 500 grand, or 500 million, whatever. I'm sure Jay would gladly accept more support in investing in behavioral health and helping people, get over their struggles and be able to be great citizens in society. So thank you all for listening, and we'll see you next time. If this episode shifted your thinking, then share it with someone bold. And remember, capital is a tool. Use it to build a world you are proud to live in.